Now we'll discuss a topic known as gluconeogenesis. So if you divide this term into three, we can find that first is gluco, means gluco. Then second word will be neo means new, okay. Third word will be genesis means synthesis. So this topic is about new glucose synthesis formation, okay. New in the body, not from the food source. Synthesis of glucose inside the body, not from outside source. New glucose synthesis, not from food, not from outside the body, inside the body. Synthesis of glucose inside the body, gluconeogenesis. So what is gluconeogenesis? The technical meaning: gluconeogenesis is the formation of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. Other carbohydrates, that is fructose, galactose, mannose, can convert to glucose, okay. But this is showing gluconeogenesis, formation of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. That means from those substances which are not carbohydrates. Now the question is, why this gluconeogenesis will take place in our body? Say during fasting, especially during Ramadan, or even during sleep, we will not take any food for 10 to 12 hours, okay. So during this time, the glucose that we have taken in the food will be exhausted, over. Digestion will be completed. The glucose that has gone into the blood will be utilized by the cells, and the blood glucose will be low. And in our body there are some cells which needs only glucose for energy, like RBC, then brain in the initial stages, then some other tissues are also there. Let us not discuss all this. So mainly the RBC needs glucose, continuous supply of glucose. So when we are fasting, okay, during Ramadan or during our sleep, the glucose concentration in the blood becomes less. So under that condition, the new glucose will form. New glucose. How? From non-carbohydrate sources. What are those non-carbohydrate sources? These ones. So the major means the main non-carbohydrate sources or precursors. Precursors means from where new glucose is formed. Of glucose are lactate or lactic acid, then glucogenic amino acids, all 20 amino acids except leucine. 20 means 19 amino acids. Except leucine, all amino acids can form glucose. And glycerol, that is the fatty acids which is stored as triglycerol. Fatty acids are oxidized and glycerol is released, and this glycerol can form glucose. So the main sources are lactic acid, glucogenic amino acids, and glycerol. These are the major sources of gluconeogenesis. Now let us say from where these three things comes, that is lactate, glucogenic amino acids, and glycerol. First we'll start with lactate or lactic acid. Now this lactic acid is formed in RBC by anaerobic glycolysis. Because RBC does not have mitochondria, the glycolysis in RBC is only anaerobic, and the end product of anaerobic glycolysis is lactic acid. So this lactic acid is used as a precursor or a substrate for formation of new glucose. So lactate is formed in RBC by glycolysis because mitochondria are absent. This is the first source of lactic acid. Then second source, lactate is also formed by active skeletal muscle. When the rate of glycolysis exceeds the rate of TCA cycle, then pyruvate formed is converted to lactic acid. Okay, so what is happening when you start doing exercise or when you go to gym? Suddenly there will be more activity of the muscle, and this activity will not be equivalent to the rate of TCA cycle. So glycolysis is running at a faster rate. Rate of glycolysis is faster than the TCA cycle. So lactic acid will be converted to pyruvic acid is converted to lactic acid. That is what is shown here. The pyruvate is formed is converted to lactate. Something is written here. This is known as Cori cycle. Okay, it is a little different story. We'll see what is Cori cycle later on. Okay, right. So we have seen two sources of lactate. One is RBC, anaerobic glycolysis. Second is active skeletal muscle. There also, though mitochondria is there, TCA cycle is there. When you go to gym or do more severe exercise, the glycolysis will become anaerobic. So lactic acid is formed. So we are continuing the highlights of gluconeogenesis. So amino acids. These amino acids are derived, means released from proteins. The proteins, especially the muscle proteins or the albumin in the blood, these proteins, they are hydrolyzed or degraded or broken down, and they release amino acids during fasting or even during our sleep. So amino acids are derived from proteins in the diet and during starvation from the breakdown of proteins in the skeletal muscle. So dietary proteins also will give amino acids after 8 to 10 hours, and if that is also over, then there will be breakdown of skeletal muscle proteins, the proteins of skeletal muscle, the peripheral in the hands and the legs. These proteins will start breaking down, and these amino acids can give rise to glucose. New glucose formation will be there. Now the third component, that is glycerol. From where it is coming? It is derived, or it is coming from the hydrolysis of triacylglycerols, TAG. Okay, so fatty acids are stored as attached to glycerol. To one glycerol molecules, 3 fatty acids are attached. So when we are fasting, the fatty acids are released, and glycerol will take part in gluconeogenesis, formation of new glucose. So these are the 3 sources: lactic acid, amino acids, and glycerol, for formation of glucose in our body. When our body glucose is less. Now this is the main part. Gluconeogenesis occurs mainly in the liver and to some extent in the kidney. It also occurs in brain and muscle to some extent. Major is the liver, then second is kidney, and to some extent means little bit in brain also, in muscle also. So these are the sources. This is the place of gluconeogenesis. All cells cannot synthesize glucose. Only it's liver. Okay. So when we are fasting, the blood glucose will become less. Liver will sense that blood glucose is less, and what it will do, it will first take the lactic acid coming from RBC and produce glucose. Actually, this lactic acid from RBC is continuously taken by liver, because even when glucose level is more in the blood, the lactic acid is found by the RBC, and it will come to the liver. Okay, and liver will form glucose, and then it will release into the blood, and that glucose can again be taken by RBC or skeletal muscle. So that's why we have seen in the previous slide that this is a Cori cycle. Cori cycle means from the muscle, when it is active, a muscle is there, it will convert glucose to lactic acid, because glycolysis is high speed and TCA is low speed. So lactic acid is formed, and that lactic acid goes to liver from the skeletal muscle, and liver will form glucose by gluconeogenesis, and it will release into the blood, and again it will go to muscle, and in the muscle it will be used for glycolysis. And this cycle, that is formation of lactic acid in the muscle and then going to the liver, and in the liver formation of new glucose by gluconeogenesis, and this glucose formed in the liver will go to blood, and from blood it will go back to the skeletal muscle and used there for glycolysis. This cycle, complete cycle, is known as Cori cycle. Let us see under what conditions this gluconeogenesis will occur. That means when, in what body condition, whether you are fasting or what is the condition in which, or what disease, in which condition this gluconeogenesis will occur more. Actually, in normal condition also gluconeogenesis will take, but to little extent. But under special conditions gluconeogenesis will increase. So gluconeogenesis occurs during first starvation, means when you are not taking food for long time. There are two words here, one is starvation and the other one is known as fasting. Fasting is for short duration, maybe for 8 to 12 to 14 hours you can take, but starvation is for more than 14 to 24 hours or maybe elongated. So starvation means when you are not taking food for long time. Even if you are fasting, gluconeogenesis will take place. After 8 hours of taking a food, gluconeogenesis will take place in the body, in the liver. Now the second condition, see here, to clear lactate from RBC and muscle. Already I told you RBC does not have mitochondria, so there is no electron transport chain in the RBC. So the main source of energy for RBC is glucose oxidation by glycolysis only, and it is anaerobic glycolysis. So the end product of anaerobic glycolysis is lactate. Okay, right. So this lactate will go to the liver from RBC. In the liver, gluconeogenesis will take place and glucose is formed, and that glucose is released into the blood and may be again used by the RBC. So the same thing will happen in the muscle also. That is, when you are working hard or go to gym, there what happens? You will put in more exercise, more work, more strain on the muscle. So the rate of glycolysis will be faster than the speed of TCA cycle. So what happens? There will be miscoordination between glycolysis and TCA cycle. So the pyruvate formed is converted to lactic acid. Though there is mitochondria in muscle, there can be aerobic glycolysis, but speed is not tallying. So pyruvate will be converted to lactate, and this lactate from muscle will go to liver. In the liver, by gluconeogenesis, it will form glucose and it will release glucose into the blood, and muscle will take that glucose and again it will oxidize by glycolysis to lactic acid. Now this cycle, that is formation of lactic acid by the muscle and lactic acid going to liver. In the liver, glucose is formed by gluconeogenesis. That glucose is released into the blood, and from the blood it will again go to muscle for use. This cycle is known as Cori's cycle that I have given in the previous slide. Okay, the next condition. When carbohydrates in the diet are low. So this is a main important thing. See, when you take food, if the carbohydrates in the food is less, that means there is no rice or there may not be any sources that contains more carbohydrate. That is, you are taking only meat, no rice, laham, that is mutton, or dijaj, that is chicken. Only you are taking these two. These are protein rich compounds or fat rich. So under that condition, carbohydrates are less. So the protein you take is digested, released amino acids. That amino acids will form glucose by gluconeogenesis. Protein rich diet. This generally occurs in the cat family, tiger, lion, cats, because they take only meat. So their gluconeogenesis is very common there in those species. In human beings also, if you don't take sufficient carbohydrates, gluconeogenesis will take place, extra burden to the liver. So our diet should be equal. Carbohydrate should be there, protein should be there, lipid should be there, fat should be there, so that we will not strain our liver for gluconeogenesis. Okay. During pregnancy also gluconeogenesis will occur. Why? Because for the developing fetus extra energy is required. So the mother that takes food may not be sufficient. So liver continuously supplies glucose by gluconeogenesis to the developing fetus. This is the extra demand for energy by the growing fetus. Pregnancy, there is a extra life developing in the fetus. So during pregnancy also gluconeogenesis will take place. Lactation, again the milking mother needs to synthesize lactose, the disaccharide lactose. For that, glucose and galactose are required. Milk contains the sugar lactose. So for formation of lactose, extra glucose is required. So by gluconeogenesis, there is extra formation of the glucose during lactation. Maybe in mammary glands, okay, right, during lactation. And in febrile diseases, febrile means any disease that leads to increase in temperature of the body. Fever causing diseases, febrile, fever causing diseases. So any disease, some cold and fever also is a febrile disease. Or while playing football, if there is some injury, you will get fever. Okay, to compensate the extra requirement of energy by the cells, gluconeogenesis will take place so that glucose can be formed and the body functions regularly takes place. So gluconeogenesis occurs during starvation to clear lactate from RBC and muscle, when the diet is low in carbohydrates, during pregnancy, lactation, and febrile diseases. This is a very prominent question. You will get during which one of the following conditions gluconeogenesis will occur. Another question is, where does gluconeogenesis take place? Mainly in the liver. Okay. Right. We'll continue with the gluconeogenesis. Now, what is this gluconeogenesis? It is a gluconeogenesis, almost the reversal of glycolysis. So glycolysis is oxidation of glucose to lactic acid or pyruvic acid. Now that can go back. Okay, so we say reversal from lactic acid. Again, all the reactions of glycolysis will go back and form glucose. But here there is one term, except at 3 steps, which are irreversible in glycolysis. 3 reactions in glycolysis are irreversible. That means they will go only in forward direction, one direction. So those 3 reactions cannot go back with the same enzyme, All the other reactions can go back with the same enzyme, but three steps cannot go back with the same reaction. Okay, so we call them as the irreversible steps of glycolysis. What are those irreversible steps? I'll show you here. The first irreversible is glucose to glucose 6 phosphate. This is the first reaction of glycolysis by the enzyme glucokinase or hexokinase. Two enzymes are there. So glucokinase to glucose 6 phosphate is not reversible. That means glucose 6 phosphate cannot go back to form glucose by the same enzyme glucokinase. Another enzyme will be required to convert glucose 6 phosphate to glucose. What is that enzyme? We'll see later on. And the second reaction that is not reversible is fructose 6 phosphate to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate or diphosphate. This is known as phosphofructokinase enzyme. So this is actually the third reaction of glycolysis. So fructose 6 phosphate is converted to fructose 1,6 phosphate diphosphate or bisphosphate by phosphofructokinase enzyme. This enzyme cannot convert fructose 1,6 diphosphate to fructose 6 phosphate. So some other enzyme will be required. And the third reaction is phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate. This is the last reaction of glycolysis, and this reaction is also not reversible, and this is catalyzed by the enzyme pyruvate kinase. This enzyme pyruvate kinase cannot reverse the reaction, that is, it cannot convert pyruvate to phosphoenol pyruvate. So these three are the irreversible steps of glycolysis. Okay. For gluconeogenesis, we may not ask you what are these irreversible steps of glycolysis. Just this is for your information. What are the irreversible steps of glycolysis? Now we'll see how these reactions are reversed. That is, how glucose 6 phosphate is converted to glucose, how fructose 1,6 diphosphate is converted to fructose 6 phosphate, how pyruvate is converted to phosphoenol pyruvate. What are the enzymes required? Because these enzymes cannot reverse, they cannot go back, they cannot bring this reaction back. So in the next slide we'll be seeing how these reactions are reversed. So here these three steps are reversed by enzymes known as key enzymes of gluconeogenesis. Key enzymes. Key means it will allow the gluconeogenesis to operate. We call it as the key enzymes of gluconeogenesis. Okay. So these enzymes will reverse the reactions. So what are these three? So what are the key enzymes? There are not three, more than three. So the key enzymes of gluconeogenesis are these, and this is a main question, important question in gluconeogenesis. They will be asking which one of the following is a key enzyme of gluconeogenesis. So the first key enzyme is pyruvate carboxylase or pyruvate carboxykinase. This is the first key enzyme of gluconeogenesis. This will reverse one of the reactions of glycolysis that is not reversible, that is mainly pyruvate to phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, it is not one step reaction. For this another enzyme is required, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. So these two enzymes will reverse the third irreversible reaction of glycolysis. Which one? Pyruvate carboxylase or carboxykinase and phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. These two enzymes will reverse the third irreversible reaction of glycolysis. The remaining two key enzymes will reverse the remaining two irreversible steps of glycolysis, that is the first and second reaction. So we are going in the reverse direction. So the last irreversible reaction was reversed by these two enzymes, and the second reaction, which was irreversible, is reversed by fructose 1,6 diphosphatase. What it will do? It will convert fructose 1,6 diphosphate to fructose 6 phosphate. These two enzymes will convert pyruvate to phosphoenol pyruvate. Fructose 1,6 diphosphate will convert fructose 1,6 diphosphate to fructose 6 phosphate. Okay. Phosphatase, simple as name. Phosphatase means to cut. This enzyme is cutting 1,6 diphosphate. Okay, where the first phosphate group is released, and fructose 1,6 diphosphate is converted to fructose 6 phosphate. And the last key enzyme of gluconeogenesis is glucose 6 phosphatase. Sorry, glucose 6 phosphatase. Again, ase means it is cutting what? The phosphate group present at the 6th position of glucose. So here glucose 6 phosphate is converted to glucose. Free glucose is released here. Okay. So these are the 4 enzymes which will reverse the 3 irreversible reactions of glycolysis, and these are known as key enzymes of gluconeogenesis. This question is very important. It will come both in the quiz and in the final exam. Definite this question. Which one of the following is the key enzyme of gluconeogenesis? Or there are many other reactions. We can ask phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase is a key enzyme for which one of the following reactions? A may be glycogenesis, B may be glycogenolysis, C may be gluconeogenesis, D may be glycolysis. So your answer will be C, gluconeogenesis. Okay. So in gluconeogenesis, the prominent questions are only 2 or 3. One is the key enzymes. Second, under what conditions gluconeogenesis will take place. And third is where does gluconeogenesis take place? It is liver. Okay. And in what conditions? In starvation, fasting, during low carbohydrate diet to convert lactate formed in RBC and the muscle, pregnancy, lactation, and febrile diseases. Okay. Now this is the complete set of reactions of gluconeogenesis. If you see this, it is very complicated. See here, something is shown here: lactate, okay, alanine, other amino acids, so many enzymes, so many coenzymes. Okay, it is a mess here. So many things, and finally glucose is formed. Can you see here? Process of gluconeogenesis. So lactate, amino acid, other amino acids, so many things are there, and so many reactions are there. To understand all these reactions, we have to take one by one in detail. The name of the substrate, the name of the enzyme, the name of the coenzyme, the product formed, and all these details we have to take in detail. Okay. So in the next slide, I will tell you each and every reaction in detail, whether it is reversible or not, which one is reversible, which one is not reversible, what is the enzyme required, what is the coenzyme required, how many energy ATPs are required, and all those details. Okay. So this gluconeogenesis is not that complicated. Just keep in mind this will take place when our body requires glucose. In normal conditions also, gluconeogenesis will keep on going, in many cells. But liver is the main organ. When we are fasting, liver synthesizes glucose at a very fast speed. Okay. But when we are normal, only to convert lactate from RBC or muscle. Okay. But in fasting, from amino acids also, from the glycerol also. Okay, lactate is always there. So under all these conditions, glucose will be formed. How it is formed, what are these reactions? It is very complicated. In the next slide, I will explain in detail and make you understand what is happening, how it is going on. Now we are seeing the process of gluconeogenesis in detail. Process means how glucose is formed from non-carbohydrate sources. what are the reactions, what are the enzymes, what are the coenzymes, and all those details. So in the previous slide I already told you that gluconeogenesis is a reversal of glycolysis. So most of the reactions that take place during glycolysis will go back from pyruvic acid. One by one reactions will go back till the formation of glucose. But there are three reactions that are irreversible. That means that cannot go back. Those enzymes cannot reverse the reaction. Okay. So to reverse those three reactions, there are four key enzymes which will reverse the reaction. So now we'll see what are those key enzymes, how do they reverse these three reactions, how glucose is formed from non-carbohydrate sources, that is other than carbohydrate, other than fructose, galactose, mannose and others. Okay. So here some notes are given showing that like this, the color of text in this color with yellow highlights are enzymes in this color are the key enzymes. So when you see the enzymes here, you can see the font in this color with the yellow highlight. Those are the key enzymes. And the enzymes in this color, in this blue color, are just forward and backward of glycolysis, just reversing glycolysis. Okay, reversal of glycolysis. And those with this arrow are irreversible reactions of glycolysis. So this green color arrow wherever comes, those are the irreversible reactions that are reversed by the key enzymes. And those with this arrow are reversible reactions of glycolysis. This black color arrow. Okay, right. Now we'll start the process of gluconeogenesis, formation of new glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. So this what you are seeing here is the cell, and specifically cytosol of the cell. Okay, and gluconeogenesis will start from the mitochondria, not in the cytosol. So first we'll take the mitochondria in the cell. So this is the mitochondria. Inside the cell, this is the mitochondria. Inside the mitochondria, the initial reactions will start. So the first substrate for gluconeogenesis, we are starting with one amino acid, that is alanine. Alanine is an amino acid which forms glucose, and this is the most common amino acid in the cell that gives glucose. That's why we are taking alanine as the first non-carbohydrate substance for formation of glucose by gluconeogenesis. Okay, so now I will give you the reaction of alanine forming pyruvic acid, the name of enzyme, coenzymes and all. See here. So it is showing this is a reversible reaction. Alanine by reversible reaction in presence of the enzyme alanine transaminase ALT or glutamate pyruvate transaminase GPT, and it requires alpha ketoglutarate, another amino acid which is converted to glutamic acid. Sorry, this is not amino acid. Alpha ketoglutarate is an intermediate of TCA cycle. This forms the glutamic, this converts to glutamic acid, we can say. Alpha ketoglutarate converts to glutamic acid. Glutamic acid is an amino acid, and this reaction is known as transamination. By transamination, alanine with the help of enzyme alanine transaminase ALT, or old name is glutamate pyruvate transaminase, with the help of alpha ketoglutarate, a keto acid of TCA cycle which converts to glutamic acid, and a coenzyme pyridoxal phosphate PLP, pyridoxal phosphate is required. With all these requirements, alanine is converted to pyruvic acid or pyruvate. Okay, This is the first reaction of gluconeogenesis, or one source of gluconeogenesis, that is an amino acid, is forming pyruvate pyruvic acid. And you know, the end product of glycolysis is pyruvic acid. So, sorry. So now this pyruvic acid can go back to form glucose. That is why first we are seeing how non-carbohydrate substances will give pyruvic acid. Okay, right. Now lactic acid or lactate. As we have seen in previous slides, this lactic acid is formed from RBC, anaerobic glycolysis in RBC, and also it is produced by active skeletal muscle. So this lactic acid or lactate will come to liver, and in the liver mitochondria it will convert to pyruvic acid. How? Exactly by the reversible reaction. Okay, by the reversible reaction of last anaerobic glycolysis, where pyruvic acid was converted to lactic acid. The same enzyme converts lactic acid to pyruvic acid or lactate to pyruvate. See, reversible reaction, whether it is for glycolysis or gluconeogenesis, same reversible reaction. Enzyme is the same, lactate dehydrogenase. If you see glycolysis also, pyruvic acid is converted to lactic acid by lactate dehydrogenase only. Okay, so here for gluconeogenesis, lactic acid is converted to pyruvic acid. Okay, and the coenzyme, here NAD is converted back to NADH here. Okay, that is, it gives electrons and hydrogens. Now this can go to electron transport to give 3 ATPs. Okay, so pyruvic acid is formed from two sources, alanine and lactate. Now there are some other amino acids other than alanine. As I told you, all 19 amino acids somehow can give the glucose. So other amino acids, we are not giving the names. Other amino acids, by a step of many reactions between, can form pyruvic acid. Okay, so finally pyruvic acid is formed, and this can go back to form glucose. Now in the previous slide I have already shown you that conversion of pyruvic acid to the next compound of glycolysis, or the previous compound of glycolysis, that is phosphoenol pyruvate, is not reversible. So that is reversed by two key enzymes. So we are here getting the first key enzyme. See, this is an irreversible reaction of glycolysis. This color, this arrow is a reversible reaction. Okay, irreversible reaction of glycolysis is catalyzed by the key enzyme of gluconeogenesis. The key enzyme will be given here. So this is the key enzyme, pyruvate carboxylase or pyruvate carboxylase, the first key enzyme of gluconeogenesis. Okay, here carbon dioxide is required along with biotin coenzyme. Okay, so it will take carbon dioxide, right, and ATP is used here. Energy is required here for addition of to pyruvic acid. Actually carbon dioxide is added with the help of enzyme pyruvate carboxylase, where ATP is used, the energy, and converted to ADP. Wherever ATP or GTP is there, magnesium ions will be required. So the complete reaction is pyruvate by the help of pyruvate carboxylase adds one carbon dioxide by hydrolysis of ATP requiring magnesium to form oxaloacetate. This is an intermediate of TCA cycle also. So first oxaloacetate is formed with the help of the first key enzyme pyruvate carboxylase. Now these reactions are going on in mitochondria. Oxaloacetate will now form glucose by some reactions, but the other reactions of gluconeogenesis cannot continue in mitochondria. So oxaloacetate has to come out of mitochondria into cytosol. But auxolar state is not permeable to mitochondrial membrane. Permeable means mitochondrial membrane will not allow auxolar state because of its structure. It will not allow auxolar state to pass through the membrane. So auxolar state will take some other form and comes out of mitochondria into cytosol. So for passing through the mitochondrial membrane, auxolar state, okay, before that we'll see one more source of auxolar state in mitochondria. It is from the amino acid aspartate. Okay, aspartate again by reversible reaction like this, by transamination only can give auxolar state. Here you see aspartate transaminase. This was alanine transaminase. This is aspartate transaminase, or glutamate oxolar state transaminase GOT. By reversible reaction can give auxolar state. So these are all the sources of non-carbohydrates, so precursors of gluconeogenesis: alanine, lactate, aspartic acid, other amino acids. Okay, that is what is shown in here. So here also like this alpha ketoglutarate is required, like this reaction which converts to glutamic acid, and PLP will also be required here. Right, other amino acids through intermediates of TCA cycle can form auxolar state. So some amino acids will form pyruvic acid, and one amino acid is directly forming pyruvic acid. Aspartate can form auxolar state, and remaining amino acids will enter the TCA cycle and form auxolar state. So inside the mitochondria, all the precursors of the gluconeogenesis will finally form auxolar state. This auxolar state has to pass the mitochondrial membrane. So for passing, it is converted to malate dehydrogenase enzyme, the TCA cycle enzyme. Okay, it is converted to malate first. Malate dehydrogenase enzyme is there. Again here, the reverse of TCA. In TCA, what happens? Malate is converted to auxolar state. Here, auxolar state is converting to malate. Actually, this is a reversible reaction. So NADH is converted to NAD. Okay. Now, see here, it's written auxolar state is made permeable. Why there is conversion of auxolar state to malate? To make permeable. Permeable means to make it pass through the membrane. So it is passing through the membrane, malate, okay, into the cytosol. Malate is coming into cytosol, okay, by a transmembrane protein. Means there is a protein which will allow malate to pass through the membrane. It will not allow auxolar state to pass through the membrane. Transmembrane protein. That means a protein which is from inside till outside the membrane. Transmembrane. Malate has come out into the cytosol. That's all. So malate can easily come into cytosol. Now malate will convert back to auxolar state here in the cytosol. See here, malate is converted to auxolar state. Reverse reaction. So here NAD will be converted to NADH. Okay, and the same enzyme malate dehydrogenase will act here. See, malate dehydrogenase and reverse NAD is converted to NADH. Reverse of this. So finally, auxolar state is in the cytosol. From mitochondria, it has come into cytosol. Now, auxolar state will be reacted by the second key enzyme of gluconeogenesis. See here, irreversible reaction. Okay, these arrows are reversing the reactions. Green arrow. See, this is the key enzyme. This color and phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylate kinase. Second key enzyme. This was the first key enzyme, second key enzyme. Both this enzyme is to reverse only the last reaction, that is conversion of pyruvic acid to phosphoenol pyruvate. This one. So two key enzymes are required, and so many steps are there to convert pyruvic acid to phosphoenol pyruvate. So these two key enzymes are reversing one reaction of glycolysis. Here carbon dioxide is released. The carbon dioxide which was taken here is released here, and here when energy is utilized, GTP is converted to GDP, equivalent to 1 high energy phosphate. Energy is utilized here. Okay. Now from here, from phosphoenol pyruvate, all the reactions of glycolysis will be reversed. Okay, till the last two reactions. Okay, so this is all reversible. Phosphoenol pyruvate is converting to 2 phosphoglycerate by enzyme enolase, or in glycolysis 2 phosphoglycerate was converted to phosphoenol pyruvate by enolase. So I will go fast now. Reactions are all reversible. 2 phosphoglycerate to 3 phosphoglycerates glycerate by mutase enzyme. Then 3 phosphoglycerate to 1,3-diphosphoglycerate by kinase enzyme. This is all reversible reactions. And 1,3-diphosphoglycerate converts to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, okay, by dehydrogenase enzyme. Okay, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. I am not giving the coenzymes here. There are so many coenzymes, but I am not giving here because it is just a reversible. And dihydroxyacetone phosphate can convert to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And from where this dihydroxyacetone phosphate comes? See here, by isomerase, dihydroxyacetone phosphate is converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and this dihydroxyacetone phosphate is coming from glycerol, the third compound or third precursor of gluconeogenesis. Glycerol is coming from lipids, triacylglycerol. 3 fatty acids are released, glycerol is free. This glycerol is converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and this will be converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So these are all the precursors: glycerol, aspartate, lactate, alanine, other amino acids, and the remaining amino acids. All these are the precursors of gluconeogenesis. Okay. So finally we have come to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now 2 molecules of this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will unite, or dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate will unite together by aldolase to give fructose 1,6-diphosphate. Now the next reaction in glycolysis, that is forming fructose phosphate, is not reversible, irreversible. So green arrow, it is reversing. Okay, green arrow. So again the key enzyme, this is the key enzyme, this key enzyme, okay, fructose 1,6-diphosphatase, which converts to fructose 6-phosphate. Then fructose 6-phosphate by isomerase, reversible of glycolysis, forms glucose 6-phosphate. And the next reaction is irreversible. So green arrow, irreversible reaction. So this green arrow is there, like this green arrow already given. And the last key enzyme, the fourth key enzyme of gluconeogenesis, that is glucose 6-phosphatase, will come and break this phosphate group at the 6th position of glucose and releases free glucose. So this is how glucose is formed by gluconeogenesis. All this reaction, if you take in this way, it is similar to glycolysis, glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 6-phosphate, fructose 1,6-diphosphate splitting into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. This forms 1,3-diphosphoglycerate, this forms 3-phosphoglycerate, then to 2-phosphoglycerate, then phosphoenol pyruvate, and pyruvate forms pyruvic acid in anaerobic lactate. But in gluconeogenesis it is reverse, going back from pyruvate to phosphoenol pyruvate to back going and forming glucose. Okay, this is the complete process and reactions of gluconeogenesis. Now the last slide shows the hormonal regulation of gluconeogenesis. So gluconeogenesis is stimulated by the hormones, glucocorticoids. Stimulated means increase, thyroxine, growth hormone, epinephrine, but to a lesser extent. Glucose is inhibited. Inhibited means stopped by insulin only. Okay. So stimulated, speed is increased by these hormones, and inhibited, stopped by insulin.